Okay, welcome back and thanks for bearing with us. We continue with a very interesting conversation on AI feminism, and we have three incredible women. Uh, Tatjana from Sister Analysts, Roxana, and Julia. Tanya will lead this conversation. She's a long-term friend of the conference, so welcome. Hi, Tanya.
Hi, Philip. Hi. Thanks for having us and giving us opportunity to have this conversation. Hope the conference is going well. I know it's kicked off today, so I wish you all the best and thank you again for giving us a chance to be here. So, should I take off? Yeah. Okay. So, as Philip already made announcement, we are going to talk about feminism in this panel. And we are going to talk about feminism not as a gender-induced ideology. It's more means to empower people of all age and race, regardless of their technical acumen. We see it as a strategy that can help in creating more just and fairer data-driven environments by continuing changing and challenging the power of imbalance of differentials imposed by AI innovations. So in today's discussion, apart from me, that Philip has introduced me to you already, my name is Tatjana Kecojevic. I'm founder of Sister Analyst, an organization aimed to empower women and gender minority groups through the application of data and AI. I'm a statistician. I've obtained my doctorate degree from Manchester University, where I currently teach in the Faculty of Social Studies in the Department of Statistics for Social Studies. And prior to my engagement with NGO Sister Analyst, I have established chapters, Our Lady chapters in Manchester, Belgrade, and Novi Sad. I've been involved with Women in Data Science as their ambassador. And through those volunteering activities, I met many interesting and amazing people that I collaborate and work with. And some of them are here today. First of all, I will introduce Roxena Adams. Hi, Roxana. So Roxana is a specialist that has conducted research for the private and public sectors. Currently, she's a senior research analyst at Ipsos Interactive Service Ltd. in the Creative Excellence team with Global Modeling Unit, and lecturer at the University of Bucharest, Faculty of Administration and Businesses. At the age of 26, Roxana has got her PhD in economics from the Romanian Academy of Sciences. And for the last 8 years, she worked in the Office of Statistics, a period in which she took part in several task force and working groups with Eurostat, OECD, UNICEF, and CES. Roxana is an associate member of our project, Romania team. And in this year, earlier this month, she also joined an initiative Pulsar Mentoring Program as a mentor to help women and gender minority groups to advance their careers through the application of data science and AI in their professional lives. We also in this panel today have Julia Sandert, who is a market researcher at PAC. Hi, Julia.
Hello.
Hi. She's focused on the software and the PAC company is focused on the software and IT services, and she's a volunteer at Bucharest AI. This year, she graduated from a master's program at the Polytechnic University of Bucharest. Her main areas of interest include the technical advancements of AI-based products and the obstacles to implementing this technology and ethical issues. So we are all actively involved working with data and actively volunteering in making differences to the world we live in that is very data-driven. So I would like to start the conversation by asking you your perspective on how AI is impacting current lives, and where do you see things moving on in next 5-10 years time? How do you see the role of AI in our everyday lives? So can I ask Roxana to kick off with this?
Yes, hi everyone. So, first of all, as you could have seen from my background, I didn't work directly with AI within my daily task. However, when I got a job at Ipsos during my first 6 months, I've been awarded by my colleagues from the Creative Global R&D department because I helped them building an historical database for creative artificial intelligence. Until that time, for me, AI was like a niche subject. I was within my small part of data science, data analytics, and that all. When I was hearing about AI, was more thinking to robotics, more to healthcare area. Well, at that point, when I received this award, internal award, I realized that AI doesn't mean just the work of people who are doing the modeling in order to develop the AI application, but also the work behind these steps, those who contribute to the database creation, database cleaning, ensuring covering all the population, not just segregate the groups in order for the information in order to avoid some bias that might be imply on a long run on a application. And starting from this point, I think it's mandatory to promote and understand better the concept of AI. And what I mean is to make it more accessible to the population, in company, within the employers, to break the barrier when we are looking to AI as something destined to a niche population. Maybe it was a niche 10 years ago when I joined, when I was in faculty and I wanted to become a businesswoman because that was the trend. But nowadays, we need to take into consideration the technological advancement and think in general perspective to raise the awareness and involve more people in different stage of AI. I understand that we cannot involve all the people because we are different between due to our skills and knowledge, but in several steps to involve people because in this is the perspective for the future. So working with the data, working with application and not just AI. We see big data. We see everything related to data science. So I think should be considered as a education, formal and informal, since an early stage, no matter the gender aspect or groups or other things. So people should be at least train and to think in more critical way this idea to develop a broad image of working with data, of information. How do I transform the information, the data into information and useful information, and which type of information? And then, of course, depends on the skills and age to do it the part of the modeling sides, of course.
It's a very interesting point you've made in terms of like to use AI. People not necessarily need to have skills. I mean, in terms of like Facebook, but what is clearly required is developing understanding, especially at at all level of ages, but elderly generation, if I may say so, would not necessarily have those digital skills, etc., etc. And then there is that play of STEM skills for the children to start developing those critical thinking skills, team building, sharing the information, etc., etc. So there are loads of different kind of topics and aspects that are relevant when talking about AI inclusivity and diversity. And I would like to ask you, Julia, in terms of your volunteering activities, how do you actually see the challenges and, the current situation?
we at Bucharest AI were like a pre-accelerator for the startups that starts in AI. So there is a very optimistic environment. But I would like to mention that my dissertation thesis at Polytechnic University in Bucharest was about the situation of AI adoption in Romania, about Romanian companies. And of course, I have seen a lot of big companies, because obviously AI requires a lot of data. So big companies already use it and everything is good there. But for small companies or for, I don't know, for population, it's not that easy to use and understand AI. And one of the reasons why they don't know enough information about AI, it's because of the language, because many informations are in English and it's very difficult for people that are not fluent in English to understand them. Also, it's a strange phenomenon, because when people don't understand something, they are tended to be afraid of that thing. So the need to understand and learn about AI is not only about adapting to the world we are living in, but also to not be afraid of the products that are using AI. So from my perspective, of course, I see a lot of natural language processing growing, because everybody is interested about these chatbots, this new way to communicate, to find information easier. But also, I think it will be more developed in terms of computer vision, in generative AI. I think it will grow. But for that, for be more accessible, it should be simplified, and for each country it's required to have some information or materials in that specific language. Of course, there is I feel sometimes that I'm living in two worlds. In that one with startups, AI startups, where everything is super technical, and in the other side, the normal world, where people are not so comfortable talking about AI or have misconceptions about it. So yes, we need to reduce this gap and talk more about AI.
It's that kind of that's a really good point of dealing with what's unknown to people. As an example, I would also point out in Serbia, I haven't been directly involved. I just followed the discussions about CCTV cameras, and current government have installed many CCTV cameras around the Belgrade city, and people have been very vocal about it, and that brings the key point to the focus, which is the transparency of when AI technology is used, i.e. What is the purpose, how is it used, and letting people know more about it, educating them about the technology and how it can actually improve their lives and what are the benefits for them for having the technology. But also there's that transparency within the organizations, that everybody needs to understand what they're building and how it is built, so that actually the algorithms that they use are not biased. So again, going back to Roxana's kind of domain, is data. Data is very important, and it's the data that is driving the AI technology. But AI also, at the same time, apart from using the data, has that special layer of learning through the process of its implementation. So in terms of the data that we use, Roxana, what is your view in terms of biasness, and do you have any particular view on how those kind of barriers of inclusion when sampling for data can be, should I say, done? Or is there any kind of a recipe that people can use? What are the things that we should be aware when dealing with data samples?
Well, I think when we speak about AI, firstly, we speak about the big amount of data, and the biggest problem from my point of view is the availability of data, because there are few open source data. Mostly they are payable data for biggest company, and other are own company resources. So um, speaking about sampling the data, we don't speak about the sample as like a social survey. You speak about the sample within the data set, and I'm going to refer to the population. So I'm going to refer how do I define my population in order to avoid those the potential bias. Here I remember that I had a talk with Julia, and she gave me some example of bias. Maybe she's gonna give it after this. The idea is that how to include the all population that I need in order to avoid statistical errors. And here is defining the population. How do I define the population for a special program developed through AI? Do I include just the men? Do I include the men and women? Do I include children as well? Or depending on the data set, if you are doing in advertising, which kind of advertising do I need to take into consideration? Because if I develop an AI program for a niche, for a specific population, that might not be applicable for the population that I'm going to sell this product, maybe. And I don't think there is a recipe. I think that the most important thing is to identify the scope and the better identification of the scope of the product that you will develop through AI. And after you develop, you identify this scope, then you define the population, like the sample, let's say, because not going to be all the population, but what do you sample from the population you use, but actually be all the population that you have in that area, even if it's from open sources, even if it's from the local database of the company or within other sources that I don't have in mind right now, maybe administrative sources from some states that they have it, like bank statements or things like this. But these are the two keys, in my opinion: defining the scope of my application or what I'm going to use the AI, and then defining what types of data, who is my population that I'm going to refer. I'm going to use it in order to develop the mechanism, the modeling inside to my application. And maybe Julia can complete with some examples. She gave me, all the talk with some biases, and she can say us directly as an example of what might be wrong in an AI application. I don't know.
Of course, the famous example is with Amazon. I think most of the people knows that they try to make an algorithm or AI algorithm to hire people based on the people already hired and had the better retention and longest experience and best results. And after they were using that AI algorithm for a while, they discovered that algorithm particularly hire only men because obviously in the past most of the person hired were men, so that algorithm eliminated from the start the women because it didn't see any women inside. So yeah, the inclusive policy of using AI is very important. Otherwise they could appear a lot of biases of using AI because when you train an algorithm, you use to train because we are human and we have our own experiences, and of course we are training with our mindset when we are working with that algorithm. So including a lot of categories, social categories, or a lot of I don't know, nationalities, gender. It will help AI to understand better the world, to provide better results, and to not be biased by training from a certain category of populations. So yes, it's very important to have to give access to multiple persons, different persons, to be very have a diversity in this approach. So it will be mandatory in the future in order to have equitable software and to not be more biased than we are right now.
It comes into the scope all that multidisciplinarity that is required when dealing with AI, and to kind of put all together what you were saying. It's very important, therefore, to understand what is the purpose of why you're using a specific AI, to understand the relevant data, not to go down the path of accessing convenient data, but to define your sampling frame properly in terms of having to profile and segment basically all the relevant categories that your sample needs to have in order for AI to function properly and to give a clear picture of what it is, but also constant kind of reflection of the results that are obtained through the AI's learning, if you like. If I kind of can recap the conversation between you two. So in terms of, again, we mentioned that multidisciplinarity. So in that respect, we also, in the previous point, we talked about the application and use of AI from people from all sorts of backgrounds, so not necessarily technical backgrounds. So when we kind of put all those things together, what are the things that you find currently the most challenging, and why you actually are actively involved with different volunteering initiatives, such as AI Bucharest, such as Pulsar, with Sister Analyst mentoring program for empowering women, gender minority groups through the application and use of data science and AI?
May I start?
Yeah, please do.
The most challenging thing is the discrepancy between some companies that already uses a lot of AI and already have experience, and some companies, some categories of people that have never heard of AI or don't know about AI. And this is very important because we are living in a very competitive world, very dynamic. Everything is evolving very fast, and the gap is already super important and very hard to bring some categories of companies or individuals in that level to be able to compete with other companies or with other individuals. So my first thing I have in mind is as a challenge is to reduce this gap and to basically initiate in the AI world, because many of people that are not very familiar with digital tools consider AI something super human, super robotics, too evolved. They are afraid to not be left behind, but in the same time they are afraid to try. They are afraid they don't understand, and this is a huge challenge. And like, I don't remember his name, but a famous person said, if you can explain it to a 6 years old kid, you are able to explain to everybody. So to explain the AI functions, like for a 6-year kid, it's the most difficult part of promoting the AI benefits.
I agree.
From my side, I think the resources are play a big role within the discrepancy. Even if we are talking about the personal side, like for students, for children, adults, or grown up people, or even for companies, because a big company has more opportunity, has more funding, more starts in order to develop, and a small company has limited resources. Maybe this kind of activity, as Julia has been involved accelerator, but there you cannot finance all, and might not be a problem just of funding a resource like the monetary level, but also about the data sets, because for me, I have a problem with the availability of data. This is my big problem. So there is a lot of data available right there. So and might be there are data sets similar to what I'm looking for, but maybe not precisely what I'm looking for. Depends on the application, because not all application works with humans being. Not all applications are destined to advertising or to medicine. Maybe there you can use administrative sources, but for a small company, in order to develop AI software programs or something to work with it, you need the resources. And do you have it? Okay, can you access funding, private or public, through, let's say, European programs? And second, where do you access this data? Because okay, I can pay from some sets of data and I'm gonna have those sets, but I don't know if their definition are the same as those I need. Then the data cleaning, and at the end, even if I pay a certain amount of money for a huge data set, how what's the percent of that information that I can really use within my needs of developing an AI? So this is what I would add in plus on this subject, comparing with what Yuri already said.
It's back to that kind of sampling theory that is really, really important, and now is becoming, even more obvious in terms of I know, for example, back in the days, Ipsos used to run surveys by phoning up people. Now, that's quite, discriminatory way of dealing with sampling by, expecting that people would still have landlines. And what about people who don't? So do you just use mobiles, but then, some spheres of, the demography would not, that is, applicable to certain studies, would not necessarily use mobile technology. So it's kind of really now getting, it's more highlighted, especially with the vast amount of data that we want to use and we want to deal with to get the real, perception of what's going on. It's back to that kind of really clear structure about what we do, and the transparency go back to the focus of explaining to people why do we need first of all to collect your data, what are the benefits to you from us collecting your data, and therefore also providing the clear structure of all segmentation of the population that are relevant to a specific study, to specific development of technology, where AI is going to play a big role. Talking about medical studies, I mean, we've all seen with COVID how things pan out in terms of not including certain minority groups into the studies of treatments, etc., etc. So kind of, we are slowly getting aware of necessary education that is required for ordinary people, if I may call them like that, people who do use those technologies. As I mentioned earlier, even about the Facebook, how Facebook actually, I might actually put an advert and say I want to target such and such a demographic group, and can you please, I use Facebook to advertise my I don't know, campaign, but I don't necessarily know the algorithms that they're going to use and the way they're going to discriminate against certain subgroups. So again, the transparency of all those technology is really, from my point of view, a key thing that needs to be worked on. And also on education, educating people from all different backgrounds. Everybody is using AI technology. So how do you actually see the importance of transparency of the technology that AI actually is making available to people, the algorithms that are running behind, and within, I don't know, organizations, people who build AI technologies, and the wider audience in terms of the life of those technologies in the wild world, and also about the education of people who are creating and who are using. So I know there are like 4 different questions within this, but what is kind of something that is really kind of resonating with you, and where do you see your contribution in what you do as a volunteer in this domain?
I would like to start first because I don't have too much information to add since I haven't been directly involved into AI, and I might refer just to some official stats because I think these are also important too. When we speak about when we want to make these inferential statistics and we refer to the population, we need to take into consideration also some official statistics. And I know that according to AI Watch Index 2021, they are measuring some societal aspects dimension, and there they are including 4 indexes related to this societal dimension. And I was checking it before having this panel, and I saw that the index on gender diversity had a smooth increase. On the other hand, a big increase was the geographic diversity index and while the business index decreased a bit. This was like the discrepancy between gender aspect, including ones for the business and then from the conference participation of the conferences and the gender diversity, like people based on gender involved in the AI. And this doesn't tell us too much because, yeah, it's a bit smooth. It's just for those people that are active into AI. But on the other hand, what I have found very interesting was the higher education in indicators, and I saw that they are using 2 indicators: AI in university programs at the level of European Union, and university places within AI content in European Union. The conclusion was, as we see through the first indicator, AI at university programs in UA, we see that there are more master programs than the bachelor one. So at this point in 2022, you say, okay, this is expected because you need to be more skilled. And this is why you most probably have more master programs within AI than the bachelor one. But my question is, after several years, would be the same? Like, oh, how many years? Because as like as we see the technology evaluation and all these situations, I think we should be aware of integrating these programs not just from the university, somehow make it available for a 6 years old kid, as Julia said before. And I was happy to see that regarding the AI intensity in university, I saw that Romania was good, like the places, this indicator measure the proportion of available places within university programs with AI content in the total number of places in the university programs by member states. And in Romania, this indicator was good compared with the other states, but not that fabulous as I wanted to see. Um, so this stats conduct, however, to the observation that we need to include we need yeah to include the AI concept or something related to AI education on early stage in the curriculum, maybe not just at the university. And overall, the analysis showed that through a watch index results that this is within the 5-fold dimension. But the idea was that we need to have the same or encourage the same evolution within the states because some states perform better than other states. So this is a problem of each, also at the macroeconomic level for each country. However, some countries are developing more than others, and this affects also the all population. And even if at the European level we perform good, the conclusion of the report was that we perform good, but we don't perform as a strong position as the landscape of US or China shows for them. So yeah, we are good. Some countries are doing better than other, but we are not doing that good as US and China. This is just as macro level because I don't have that much experience, and maybe Julia can add from her experience within the AI.
Well, from my experience, to make it short, I would say that yes, transparency is super important because we are dealing with data. It's not always a case of a good intention. AI can be harmful, and in the wrong hands can do a lot of bad things. So yeah, regulation of AI, I think it will bring more trust, more confidence in that programs that are using AI. So yeah, transparency and the regulations are one of the topest or one of the most important things that has to be done in this direction. And I see an increased adoption of AI from from other categories of people, let's say, by showing them some easy examples, because there are so many platforms that no requires coding, that you can train to recognize an apple, to recognize, I don't know, a different object. And I think it's useful to understand the mechanism. And I want to complete what Roxana said about the technology. Of course, AI in 10 years probably will be very different, and there will be new technologies that came from AI. So the trend of keep going the education, it will be very necessary in order to increase the AI adoption skills from the general populations, and of course to be useful for them, because it's not a case of only knows to do something, but also to use it in to benefit from it. So that's that's how I see the things going in next years.
Yeah, and it's like to go back to that diversity and inclusion. Really, what Roxana already mentioned earlier. It's like currently we're targeting really like people who have technical backgrounds and who can kind of get into those master degrees. But it's something that we really need to act now and get children from an early age involved and engaged with the technology. It's not necessarily, I mean, we know AI now, it's in, if you study art, it would be relevant for regenerative art. If you study medicine, if you study engineering, obviously, social studies, if you study law, you can, analyze texts,
Yes.
and also in terms of application of AI, it can help, I'm talking about this Western Balkan region, that also, although you're in EU, but you belong to,
Yes.
and we all deal with corruption, and one of the ways of putting a stamp on it and making it less kind of dominant is through the applications of AI. So people can do things online. They don't need to go and knock on other people's doors. So kind of all that administrative barrier can be pulled down. And I think people really genuinely need to be educated about those things. So from my point of view, what Roxana mentioned, teaching kids maybe, robotics is a really nice way of introducing them to those STEM skills of creative thinking, collaborative thinking, explaining what you're doing. Also, informal education is coming into play, where we can involve all the generations and actually encourage people who have got degrees, people who perhaps, which through some of those mentoring programs that Roxana and I are involved, we're trying to achieve. is get people back into education. That doesn't necessarily have to be formal, but can really empower them through the application and use of data, regardless of the discipline and the subject area they're in. And for all of that, I think Julia mentioned we do need financing. I think the local governments need to recognize that, need to see the power of all those programs, all those volunteering activities that do exist. And it's not kind of a workshop just as a workshop of teaching people how to code, as you mentioned, Julia, but giving them idea of possibilities, of potentials of what AI can bring. So we have only like a few minutes left, and I would like to ask you for the end, what are the things that you feel like you currently are doing to make those changes in terms of empowering people through the application of AI, but in terms of really breaking those barriers and making AI as a way of making the wider society more inclusive and more tolerant?
I will start. Usually I'm giving simple examples to people that are not very technical to understand that it's not rocket science, to understand a few concepts of AI. So I give them the simple examples, and they say, "Oh, that's it is. I thought it was something super technical, super," and this is the most easiest thing. The easiest thing I can do to explain, to give examples. Examples are super important to make people understand. And in the future, I don't know, I'm thinking to involve more in workshops, in small presentations, because in this way, maybe I don't know, in an hour or two, I can not bring all the knowledge about AI,
Sure.
but just to be a start, just to be an input for them to, I don't know, to continue. That's what I'm planning to do.
Great.
As I'm teaching also the university, and I teach statistics, econometrics, database system, and data analysis with R, I do my best to make them understand that they need to understand this for a better paid job. Maybe this is something that I sell the courses with the students. Besides of this, for the critical thinking, and not just for the grades. So I'm trying my best to make it more accessible and likable for my students, these two subjects that I said, like the statistical and the data analysis. And I'm so happy that I joined the Pulsar mentoring programs as a mentor, and I hope to help more women and gender minority and all the groups that want to join the programs, this program, in order to advance their career to the application of data science and AI to the professional life. So this is something that I need to see in the future how it goes.
Yeah, I'm really excited equally as you are about that program we've started, and I really hope that is the way forward, and collaborating. And this conference clearly gives a platform for collaboration that has been really born out of collaborating with Quantargo, another company that actively is involved with the data science conference. So I would like to thank you for joining the discussion. It's been a really nice for me
It was a
start of the
pleasure.
day
Thank you.
here in UK, and I hope we will collaborate and carry on our mission of making the world we're living better and more just through the application of AI, making it available to all. Thank you.
Thank
you so
you
much.
very much for the invitation, and good
Thanks.
conference.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Hope
you.
you enjoy the
Bye.
rest of the conference. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.